Hello, and a warm welcome to the latest episode of the AI Edge podcast presented by Leena AI. Today, I have with me Mr. Shashank Verma, who is the SVP and Global Head of Data and AI led CX Transformation at EXL. It's great to have you here, Shashank.
Thanks, Adit. I'm excited to be here and thank you for having me.
Perfect. To get us started, can you talk to us about what EXL does and what do you do in your role?
Sure. So, Adit, EXL is a data and AI led transformation company, right? I mean, if we go back and we've been there for 25 years, we started with a operations management company. But over the years, very quickly we pivoted towards analytics and data services. And then over the course of time, we also added AI into the mix as well. And that is what we really differentiate ourselves on, right? So because we believe to drive true transformation, the three pillars that are really important is the domain, which because of our ops background, we know that very well. Then we understand the underlying data and analytics services, so that gives us that second pillar. And then, of course, to apply AI to solve those real life challenges, that's what helps us really do this well for our clients. And we are one of those few organizations who can say very proudly and confidently that we can do all three of these very well. So that's what EXL does, Adit. As a part of EXL, I lead the customer experience transformation practice across all industries that we operate in globally. And we have done tons of great work and driven great results and metrics for our clients, which I'd love to share some of those with you today.
Love it, Shashank. So, just to make sure that our audience here understands, so you would basically go into a customer and help them transform their customer experience from, let's say, the buying side of the story, and then even support and services, right?
Yeah, so Adit, there essentially three different ways our customers engage with us. There are lots of our clients who know they want to modernize and improve customer experience. They want to transform. They can have different sets of priorities. It could be saving cost. It could be improving customer experience. It could be growing and growth and scalability. But they don't know really where to start from.
Okay.
And that is where, we've got what we call a CX maturity assessment. So in a couple of weeks, we'll come and do a quick diagnostics. And as a part of that diagnostics, what we really do is look at the maturity of their customer journeys, look at the maturity of their underlying data, look at the maturity of the current tech platforms and ecosystem that they have, and obviously the use of AI within that. So those essentially become the four big ingredients on which we do the assessment. As a part of that, we put them, score them against where they are against the industry and help them build like a 2 or 3 year transformation roadmap. And most of the times we help them execute and make everything real as well. So that's one way in which we engage with our clients, Adit. The other way is clients come to us and tell us, we've got a very specific problem. I've got a legacy IVR I want to modernize and I want to move on to AI and agentic AI solutions. Can you help me do that? So that's another way in which we help them. The third is we obviously, since we run operations for a number of our clients, there are large integrated deals that come to us where it's human in the loop plus AI all together. And that's another way in which we help them. So those are essentially the three ways in which our clients engage with us.
Love it, Shashank. Now, this is a great segue into the reason why we are here on this podcast. You've been at the forefront of this, as you said, with number 2, where you said, hey, using AI to do transformation for your customers, CX transformation. Can you give us a few examples or real world case studies where agentic AI, LLMs, Gen AI has made a noticeable difference in any of those parameters, whether it be cost, faster growth, or just customer experience overall? So can you share a few case studies with us today?
Oh, absolutely. Would love to do that. And of course, this is new and this is evolving. So Adit, I'll give you an example. So this is actually a US health benefit administration company that we were working with, right? And these were, people in the US, actually, it was a US run contact center. And these were people making calls to the large pairs or the PBMs in the US. And, it was pretty complex calls. So these were outbound interactions, anything between 45 to 55, 60 questions that were being asked. So lengthy calls, collecting a lot of data and validating a lot of that data as they were on those calls. So first, when it started, it was completely manual. Then this organization actually started with conversational AI, right? That okay, they obviously wanted to bring efficiencies in. They started with conversational AI. With conversational AI, even though it was a great solution, it's a complex use case, was only being able to do about 13-14% completion of these calls, right? And that was, I think, the big opportunity. And we realized a big part why these calls were not being completed is the level of personalization, the level of the complex questions and the interactions between the pair organizations and these benefit administrators were kind of complex. And I mean, with the conversational AI with scripted definite answers, that is not the way to handle that. And that is where we actually applied agentic AI. And other than, I'm actually very, very happy to see we're already at about 60-65% completion of these. And the
Wow.
target we've signed up for, and we believe the opportunity is beyond 75%. So we're still fine
Wow.
tuning. We are still in that process. But it has been fantastic, right? Actually, the day we switched from conversational AI to agentic itself gave us about a 10-15% uplift, right? So the first day itself, there's a huge difference, and we've been training and fine tuning since then. And I think that's great. But what we are also doing, so this was one good example. The others are almost all of our clients, especially the ones that are on legacy IVRs or sometimes even conversational AI, right? So, for example, it's a large bank in the US that we're working with. Even with conversational AI, they're at about 30 to 32% containment, which is great if you think about that. But really, what they're after is what about the next 68%, right? Can this help me get from 32 to 50 plus percent? And those are the kinds of complex, use cases with, and they've got about 200 million calls a year. So it's phenomenal size and scale. So those are the kinds of complex things that we're trying to do with Agentic, and the early results are very, very fascinating.
That's amazing, Shashank. So you're basically saying that there are two waves of transformation that has happened in the last 10 odd years. The first is people went from just manual to conversational AI, which was more very, and I remember those times because we've been around since those times as well. And there were very structured kind of conversations you could handle with intense entities, and just like BERT models or NER models where you have to train it on every single intent and then
Yeah.
make it work. But you're saying that even in those environments, you're going in and then saying, "Hey, let's upgrade everybody to an agentic and an LLM based experience than just the older ones."
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you another example. So think
Yeah,
about this as a bank, right? Since you talked about specific intent audit, right? Like one of the first use cases we picked up was transaction decline, right? So you try to use your card and it doesn't go through. Now, even though the intent is transaction decline, there could be so many different permutations, combinations as to why it actually declined. You're traveling to the Philippines, you didn't inform your bank, and you try to swipe your card there, somebody suspected a fraud, and it didn't go through. Versus if I haven't paid my credit card bills or I haven't made my payments, I try to swipe my card, you block that, for a different reason. Even though the intent is the same, there could be so many different paths, and you need to offer personalization to your customers
yeah.
because these transactions need to be handled very differently. And that is what agentic AI is allowing us to do, bring hyper personalization in there, making it, more structured, even where you need to bring more empathy and handle these multiple sub-intents in a very effective manner, which leads to higher adoption and value.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think in our experience as well, we of course you guys do a lot of stuff on the customer experience side of stuff. We do a lot of work on the employee experience side of,
Right.
and Agentic AI has given us the power to get the person what they need when they need it on the platform they're choosing, right? Like, hey, if I respond faster on Slack, then, or if I keep my Slack open all the time, and I'm like, Leena knows that like Shashank is really active on Teams or on Slack or on WhatsApp, wherever, or on email. Leena can prioritize channels for you and make sure that it reaches out to you on that channel that is I think that's something you must be definitely getting towards in the CX world too, right? Like, hey, should I call this person? Should I text this person? Should I email this
Yeah,
person? Even
absolutely.
in some other geography, even WhatsApp this person, right?
Absolutely. A channel of preference. And which is why, remember, understanding your personas of those customers. What
Yep.
we also do other than building a 360 profile of those customers and those personas. So we know about some of their preferences and so we can communicate with them on their preferred channels. Because, I always tell my clients, right, gone are those days where you can force your customers to use a channel of your preference.
Yep.
This is the time of giving them the flexibility of using a channel that they prefer.
Everything has to be on. I agree. Yeah. So a lot of organizations and a lot of CIOs, CTOs, and even other leaders I speak to, they complain about shelfware. So they invest a lot in technology. They invest a lot in AI specifically over the last 2 years, and how the waves have been, right? Uh, but AI adoption is low. Implementations are very here and there. Pilots are good, but nothing sees the light of the day, right? Like, and that's something I'm hearing a lot, Shashank. I'm wondering if that's the case with you when you go into an environment, if that's what you also hear. And can you tell, what are the reasons of such, failed deployments, slash failed POCs, which don't see production to our audience today?
Yeah, and again, this problem is very real. Other than, this problem actually is a huge opportunity for somebody like us, right? So I'll tell you first, two parts, right? So first, I'll tell you why I think this problem exists, right? I think, a lot of times what we see other than platform companies make tall claims
Mm.
and they sell the solution. And there's nothing wrong, right? Technology is great, right? And some of their claims are actually true. But when they make these claims, uh, like I was telling you earlier, it is not just technology that is needed. Good technology is not going to make it successful, right? Yes, you definitely need good piece of technology, but you also need somebody who understands your different customer journeys, the nuances associated with those customer journeys, which journeys to prioritize and which journeys to leave and let it be with the human agents and things like that. So you need somebody who understands the domain and the customer journey. And you also need a lot of times what we hear with our clients, even Fortune 500s, right? Their data is not organized, right? The data is all over the place. So somebody who understands data and make it usable for you to solve some of these problems, right, is something that's needed. Now, a lot of times these platform organizations, yes, they sell the platform, but while they or the entity or the organization themselves are trying to implement it, they don't know that they can't bring it all together, right? And I think that is where either they've brought in consultants, so the consulting companies come and build a roadmap and go away, but they're not the experts on data, domain, all these customer journey
Yep.
side. So to drive real value becomes a challenge. You'll be surprised, Adit, the number of times our clients come to us and say, "Oh, we spent a lot on this technology, and we are not seeing those results. Can you give us a replacement?" And we say, "You've not made a bad choice. The technology that you've actually invested in is great. The problem is how you've applied and solved these customer journeys, and that is where we tell them, give it to us. We can show you the results." So, this was a large insurer in the US. For 2 years, they invested in one of the top quadrant, conversational AI platforms out there. And even after 2 years of working with that, they were only at 12% containment, contact containment. And when we talked about some of those stories, they were like, okay, there's something wrong, either with our platform or you guys are just making it up. And we said, okay, just give us 1 quarter, engage us for 1 quarter, and we'll show you the difference. And we told them we'll take you upwards of, we did a 2 week assessment. And on the basis of the assessment, we said, in 1 quarter, we believe we can take you to 30+%. And they didn't believe us. And we said, just 1 quarter, right? And you won't believe it, right? In 1 quarter, we applied some of those recommendations, some of the learnings that we've already had. We've done probably 40 plus large implementations across different clients. In 1 quarter, we were able to take them from 12% to 32%. And
Wow.
now we are their enterprise-wide implementation partner using a technology of their choice, which they'd already chosen and invested on, and we have made it tremendously successful.
Wow. So I think this is exactly what we see as well. But the way you brought it out is amazing, right? Like the domain knowledge, everyone has bad data, right? But the ability to get to the 80/20 of how to solve for that data, and because you've done it 40 plus times, of course you'll be able to do it in 1 month as compared to 1 year, right? Like because
Yep.
and the first time you would have done it, you would have also probably taken time, but now you've been doing it so many times over, and that's the business you are in, because yeah, that's the core of your business. Of course you're going to find ways to make it easier, faster, and better every time you do it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people, like in our case, for example, um, of course Microsoft has, I love what Microsoft is being doing with Copilot Studio, and all of the everyone has a studio these days, right? It's great. Like the idea fundamentally is great. Like here's a technology, and you can build as many agents as you want on top of Copilot, right? It's a great thought, but as you said, right, like enterprise data is bad, workflows are broken, business processes are everywhere, integrations are not present, and so the problem is across four different stacks. How do you make sense of all of it? And then you also want speed. You can't be doing a project and spend $5 million for 3 years and then come back with nothing, right? Like, and that's exactly what has happened. But
And
good to
cost,
see.
right? You don't always need a bazooka,
You
when
know?
you need a sniper. So a lot
Yeah,
of times
absolutely.
that also, right? Especially with Gen AI and Agentic AI, you've
Yep.
got to be extremely mindful about the journeys and where you need to apply Agentic AI and where traditional AI is good enough as well,
Good enough. Yeah.
right? So that is a big part of the game as well.
Amazing. I think this would be great information for our listeners here today, Shashank. Quickly moving on, I see a lot of transformation titles and CX transformation titles also getting into EX transformation. Is that something which is very common, and you see that in your day-to-day work as well?
So we've seen a big shift there, which is actually a good thing, right? Because I am absolutely an advocate that happy employees lead to happy customers, right? So other I'm seeing a shift where people are not just thinking about their customers, but also thinking about making the lives of their employees and their agents a lot easier as well, right? I mean, and for me, I always tell my team, right? Real transformation never happens in the boardrooms. You sit next to those contact center agents and those employees and look at what a difficult job they have, where they've got many different screens, right? Knowledge articles, knowledge bases are not centralized, and they've got to look at different pieces of information across different systems. You'll realize what a great job they've been doing, but you haven't made it easier for them. So other absolutely, there's a huge focus, and it works hand in glove. If you solve this, right, making a lot of their lives easier by bringing platforms together, unification of desktops, and bringing knowledge articles and knowledge bases together, and applying agentic and Gen AI capabilities on that, where as you're doing real-time transcription, you don't even need to go and type and look for answers. The system or AI automatically proactively brings the next best actions and recommendations to you. Every information that you need is at fingertips. Even some of the recommendations, understanding the customer personas are at your fingertips. You'll be able to offer a great experience. So, that there is definitely a realization in our client organizations where they are willing to invest doing this better, because they realize if they do this well, automatically a large part of their customer experience, NPS, CSAT, etc., is going to have a great result. And it's not. I mean, when you think about metrics, it's not just about looking at that transaction. They've realized that there is a bigger customer retention. There's a customer lifetime value. Those kind of metrics also get hugely impacted. So then
Absolutely.
they're in looking for the longer term benefits, not just short term gains.
Absolutely, Shashank. This is beautiful. So you're basically saying that people have started to realize that, hey, it's not just about, like, a customer experience will solve itself if you solve employee experience. And then the way to think about this is, hey, if I get 1,000 calls, let's try and automate whatever 30 to 60%, from the numbers that you said, and then take the rest and make sure make sure that our agents are enabled enough. Like now it's time to enable them to get more efficiency, productivity, but more than that, make sure that our customers and our customer experience is great for better LTV and better retention overall.
Absolutely. I'll just bring another aspect, right? So this is all in production, but there's a ton of opportunity, as far as training, mock calls, and some of those aspects applying the same piece of technology, also to enable and empower your agents and your employees to perform much better. How you're preparing them. So imagine, right? I mean, that's a big area of disruption as well. In a typical contact center, as you know, right, there's one trainee, 25 trainees, one trainer, right? How much focus and attention and how many mock calls will the trainer really make, right? And that is where these technologies can also help you provide, personalized coaching and training needs, right? And enable different scenario-based mock calls automatically, enabling people not just during training, but even while they're in production to perform a much better job, on a day-to-day basis as well. So even those opportunities are tremendous.
Yeah, it's just like you mentioned personalization on a customer level. It's also personalization on the agent level. That what
Absolutely.
What Shashank needs, what I need is very very different, and it can train. That's actually pretty interesting. Are you seeing these already live in production, like these trainings and these feedback
Yes,
mechanisms?
yes. So definitely, I mean, these are early on, but
Okay.
the results are fascinating, right? So these personalized coaching needs where they can come and explain the concepts, handle Q&As, just like, you're able to do that with trainers. We're trying to make it more human. So Adit, what we're really doing is we're building digital twins. So if
Mhm.
Adit is my trainer, we're actually building a digital twin of Adit with your own voice, with your own body language and expressions and all of that. That definitely makes it more human. And people believe in that more. Trust me, it works. So we're able to replicate that. So Adit, they feel that they're interacting with Adit, and that definitely goes a long way. So the results seem fascinating.
Love it, Shashank. I think we're headed into a, if LLMs continue the pace they are in, we'll be at a place where I think people don't like doing some of these things, right? Like boring, mundane, and they should not be doing it in the first place. So I think we are very close to that point where humans probably will be free of, uh, this boring, mundane thing. Of course, the definition of that will change because as
Mhm.
5 years later, it will probably what we're doing today will also become boring and mundane. But yeah, at least I'm confident. It gives me a lot of faith hearing you speak with so much experience in doing this. That it's already here. Very excited for that, Shashank. Uh, if I was to talk about reliability, right? Like one of the biggest things that CIOs, CTOs, and other leaders ask me all the time is, hey Adit, AI gave a response. Like so for us, it is like we do IT, HR, finance, help desk automation, right? So using Agentic AI. So the biggest worry is, hey, let's say it read some policy in finance, but then gave the wrong, like hallucinated the answer, right? Like it would say that yes, you are allowed to take a business class trip while you are not, right? Like then what? So that is what I hear a lot from customers. Of course, there's technology that we have built, etc. But do you hear the same concerns? And then how do
All
you
the
try to
time.
how do you try to
Just
solve that?
so and that is, I think, a part of education also that's needed, right? Obviously, this technology is still getting more mature, but so this has changed the whole dynamics, right? I mean, until it was conversational AI, then we used to spend probably 80% of the time building the bot and 20% time probably in doing the testing and all of that. Now it has completely reversed the cycle for us, right? So we actually end up building. The building takes about 20% of the time, and 80% of our time and effort we spend on testing. Absolutely, like you said, right? I mean, uh, how do we control those hallucinations? Building all the guardrails around that, right? I mean, how flexible and creative you want your bot or that agent to be. It's all of those things, right? Typically, what we do, other than almost, we work in highly regulated industries, right? So everybody is concerned about hallucination, and if the virtual agent says something, they're going to be in trouble, and all of that stuff. So what we essentially do is we pick up the right use cases, right? Where the risk is a lot lesser and you can let AI be more creative. And these could be questions like FAQs, how do I do this? How do I do that? Those kinds of journeys, that becomes the starting point. Once you get more confident about, oh, it can actually do this pretty effectively, then that is where you still don't go full agentic. There is still a hybrid mode, right? Where it is going to be in one conversation journey or customer journey, it's going to be some parts of it are going to be deterministic and some parts of them are going to be agentic, right? So you make parts of the conversation agentic rather than the whole conversation agentic. So you get to the next level of confidence, and then you pretty much can go all agentic as well. So that is
Yeah.
really the path that I seems to be working with a lot of people getting that confidence in the
Yeah.
technology.
Oh, I get it. So you see me smiling because it's so interesting, right? Like at one place there are customers and people who are worried about, hallucination and won't even move on anything at all. Like they'll say 0%. And on the other end, if I were to put what you just said in front of a customer, they say, but why? Agentic AI should be able to do all of this completely. Why should I need? It's funny. I was on a call with an analyst, and we have something exactly like this. So what we do is we help. So what we say is agentic AI needs. So we've coined a term called AOP, agent operating procedure, which is like a SOP to what SOP is to humans is AOP is to agents, right?
Right.
So every agent has that AOP, and then post that it will have skills. Now these skills are very deterministic in nature. Think of them like the smallest unit of work you can do in an enterprise application. So for example, in our case, in our use cases, there are things like, hey, raise a ticket, hey, create a new deal in Salesforce. I'm just giving you a few examples, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are the smallest unit of work that can happen in an application, right? So we say that the AOP, you want it deterministic, right? Like, because SOP is also a deterministic thing. You don't want your human agent to go create a new process on how to create a purchase order, right? You tell it, like, okay, tell that person, sorry, that hey, this is how you create a purchase order. First, you raise a PR, you get that PR approved, and then blah blah blah, whatever it is, right? So that's how you kind of write that thing down, or you give them the knowledge access or that access in memory to that SOP so that they can read it from there, right? And this analyst, amazing. He said, why do we need all of this? Agentic AI should be able to figure all of this out on its own. And I'm like, I'm like, where do you go? Right? You go from customers
Yeah.
who are ready to you're not ready to move because of one hallucination out of 10,000, but then you don't want even to ground things, and use RAG and other grounding mechanisms for business process. So it's a crazy, crazy world out there right now, Shashank.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, nevertheless, I mean, the exciting thing is there are just so many opportunities to go after, Arif. And with
Yeah,
this new wave in technology, it opens so many frontiers for us.
I agree.
That's fascinating.
I agree. What are some of the new things you started doing with Agentic, Shashank, that you were not doing before, or new business areas that you were never touching that you've started to touch now?
So, especially, I mean, again, if I think about the three probably things that are changing for us, Arif. One is the speed and scale at which we are deploying our solutions has completely changed. As I was saying, we're only spending about 20% of the effort in building it. So, it has definitely led to about 2 to 3x faster deployments for us, right? And we're talking about large deployments, right? So today, the kind of deals that we're working on is, for a healthcare pair, 60 million interactions a year, right? For a large US, bank, 200 million interactions a year. So, when this opens those big opportunities for us, and we're able to do this at scale and with speed as well. That's one. Number two, these new kind of things, right? So training typically was very, very human centric, so we are able to solve some of those sorts of things, having those personalizations, over there. I think that's great. One biggest thing I'm personally excited about is, earlier, as I was telling you, right, we used to do assessments, right? Trust me, and you would have probably seen that, right? The very first question I always ask my clients is, why are your customers reaching out, right? Do you have a good understanding of your call intent data, right? And believe it or not, 90% of the times they don't even know that very well. So you've got 10 million calls coming in a year. You don't even have a very good understanding of data. Why are they even reaching out? And that for us is the very first foundation, the basic thing that you've got to understand on which the entire solutioning is going to happen. Right. And what Agentic and GenAI has allowed us to do, now we've actually built a platform, Adit. You upload last, let's say 2 weeks of data or calls, and on real time, it will give you the entire breakdown of all the main intents, the sub intents over there. It will automatically build those conversation flows or designs for you. And if you want to actually go and create agents, you can go read runtime create agents. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be 80% there. And that gives you, what, remember, the way you introduced me is data and AI led. So that is really important for us. This is really a data led transformation for us. You know the top intents, the top journeys, you know which ones to go after, and systems already giving you an 80% ready solution. And the remaining 20%, you've got to fine tune it with your business expertise, the business SMEs, and the customer journey redesign experts, and we're good to go. So this opens a huge opportunity for us to do these things at scale and at speed for our enterprise customers.
Wow. Well, I love this. It's like, hey, I'm gonna mine. I'm gonna mine your existing call data to give you back the insights, and then also deliver the automations, and also deliver, of course, not the complete automation, but 80% of the automation with the agents right out the gate. That's immense value, Shashank. Yeah, that's amazing work. This has been great, Shashank. I think thank you so much for taking out the time and doing this with us today. I think we've just hit the 30-minute mark, and it's been great hosting you. I know I have so many more questions, given that you have so much experience in this space, actually taking things live, which a lot of people don't. But I think what I would love to do is to invite you again, probably after some time, and talk more as this entire space continue to evolve.
Yeah, I mean, Adit, thank you for having me here. I enjoyed this entire conversation. It's great to talk to somebody who's equally passionate about the subject from an industry standpoint. So I really love the conversation, and I'd love to chat with you again.
Same here, Shashank. See you again. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Adit. Take care.